have a hard time letting people go. I'm an overgiver. This is a service business and I love helping people.
Mhm.
So I was overgiving to people who wasn't worthy of that.
Welcome back to the Profitable Preschool Podcast, where we speak with visionary childcare CEOs who are building centers with staying power. I'm your host, Alexis Louis, CPA and founder of Little Ledgers Accounting. We work with childcare center owners to bring structure to the financial side of their businesses, whether they're looking for stabilizing their operations or planning for long-term sustainability. Every week, we go beyond the numbers to talk to childcare center owners about the day-to-day of their business. Today's guest is an inspiring childcare center owner whose journey reflects our 4 core pillars, which are their body, their being, their beliefs, and their business. So we're going to welcome Neshanta Linson, who is a devoted wife, proud mom, the founder and owner of Ermy's Enchanted Garden, a single-site childcare center. She's an entrepreneurial force, recognized nationally as a nominated childcare rock star. Passionate about travel, Neshanta explores new places whenever she can, and she's fueled by salads daily and has a soft spot for mangoes and watermelon. Above all, she leads with warmth, energy, and a commitment to nurturing children and their parents. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
No problem. I'm happy to have you. So we'll get right into it. One thing that I know, having worked with childcare center owners over this last couple of years, is that most of you started your centers from a place of like deep passion for children or for the community, something like that. Can you tell me kind of where your journey into early childhood education got started and whether or not that was like something that you knew was always going to be part of your story?
What a great question. Honestly, I've always been great with children, but I never envisioned I would be in childcare. I honestly thought I would have a fancy office with my degrees on the wall, a picture of my kids, and wearing stilettos every day.
I know that's right.
And that's not what happened for me. I didn't like corporate America. So my husband one day sent my resume to Creme de la Creme years ago, and I was hired, and I absolutely loved it. Loved it. And the parents were like very inspiring because they will say, hey, you really could break down these behaviors. I could communicate with them. And this clientele was a very upper echelon clientele.
Okay.
And so that meant a lot to me. That's when I realized I had a gift for understanding like theories, but making it so that it was applicable for families. And then all of a sudden, once we moved back to Alabama, I started in-home and boom, we outgrew that. And so now I'm in a center. So my journey has been around a way. It's not what I envisioned, but now once I live in my purpose, now I see where I was supposed to be the whole time.
That makes complete sense. Now, you say you started off working somewhere else. That's kind of where you developed your expertise, it sounds like, where you really honed into what you're good at, and then ended up doing in-home and kind of grew from there. A lot of people say that like the first couple of years in business is kind of equal parts of chaos and growth. Looking back, thinking back to your first couple of years in the business, kind of what challenges really shaped how you lead today?
Well, I think home versus in a center, you have to look at it as 2 separate types of business because you can't run your center the way you do your in-home. So I will say, like, in my experience, and then you're trying to also balance people coming into your home as well as being a mother as well and a wife. And so trying to run a business, trying to figure out bookkeeping, like, I went to school for an MBA, but it didn't teach me how to be an entrepreneur. Like trying to balance all of that and give a good quality product. So I could say this, I made so many mistakes from accounting, bookkeeping. I was trying to do it all. And I think that's when you learn in home, you can't do it all. You need to have a little bit of help, whether it's, at the time I would go online and get like certain lessons to help me out. And then when I got in my center, I realized I really had to work on my staffing because I couldn't continue to work open to close and then grow the business at the same time.
Right.
So you realize you need more systems and things in a center where when you in your home, you need systems, but you don't need as many systems. But when you're in the center, that's a whole different ball game. And I had to learn I couldn't run my center the way I was running my in-home facility. And that was the hardest thing to switch my mind to.
Right. Because when you get started and you feel like you're in a rhythm in home and it's like, okay, I got this. We're just
Mm-hmm.
going to have more kids. But
Mm-hmm.
no, there's new processes, there's new procedures that have to
Yes.
happen. It's a whole new ball game, it sounds like. So
Yes.
what is the kind of why behind you, continuing to move forward in this business, knowing this wasn't kind of your corporate office, stilettos and corner office kind of ideal at first, but now that you're in it, what keeps you going?
I think when I started, my why was I wanted to balance being a professional and being a homeschooling mom. And now, as my kids are transitioning into college, my why or my purpose is to provide a service to my community. So I want to be a place where parents can come and have peace of mind, a place where we are academically sound, but kids can still be kids, where they can play in the dirt and make a mud pie. So I think that is why I do what I do. And then the opportunity to employ people, to give early childhood professionals a voice and an opportunity to grow as educators. So
That makes
your why transition as your life transitions.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in that early stage right now where I've got 2 under 5 and doing the homeschool mom thing. So I can completely understand like how that can
Yeah.
transition into changes as they start to transition. Like you said, your children into college at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. So let's talk about the part of leadership that people don't always see, the physical demands. I've seen firsthand how owners who really care for their bodies, lead with more clarity and in a more calm way. I know one thing you said is that you're like a daily salad girl, but let's talk about the routines or rituals that kind of help you to stay organized and grounded while running a childcare center.
Well, I'm a work in progress
That's
because
fair.
I'm a firm believer like to be an entrepreneur, it is never going to be 50-50. You're never going to be able to give your family 50-50. You're never going to be able to give your business 50-50. Some
Hmm.
days you're going to give your business 80, some days you're going to give your family 20, and some days your family is going to get 80% of you and your business get 20%. I just try to make sure that I hang around that 60-40 balance regardless.
Okay.
My routine is I'm working really hard now to find space for myself because I've created spaces for everybody in my life. But when you are the owner, you have to have a space for you
Yes.
because you carry such a huge burden and a blessing. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
it's a huge blessing that's given to you, but it's hard because some days you in the bathroom crying
Right.
because you're trying to figure out how to balance it all. And you have to have a great support system. So I have a lot of childcare friends with the academy. I have a lot of regular friends because not only am I an entrepreneur, I'm a mother to elite players. So whenever you
Right.
have elite players, that takes even more of your time.
Hmm.
So my friends are like, so when is baseball over with? When is work over with? So that I can come to like their parties or something like that. So just finding a space for myself and giving myself most of all grace.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes as mothers and entrepreneurs or fathers, we don't give ourselves the grace that we can't be perfect and we want to, but
Hmm.
you just can't. You weren't meant to be perfect. You meant to be imperfect so that you can do your best. And so to me, you have to have a support system. You have to give yourself grace. And then you just have to realize that you're not going to be 50-50. But if you try to hang around 60-40, everything will work for you.
All right. That's great advice. Have you ever hit a time or a season of burnout or exhaustion and had to kind of reclaim your energy while still showing up for your team?
Yes. Especially in those early years where you're trying to get your systems together. I remember my kids were sick when I was in my home and they were sick in the back part of the house. I'm trying to work. So I'm up all night with my kids. And then I have to get up early and just smile and put my happy face on. And that's just really hard to do. But I realized that when I'm getting ready to burn out, I now try to build time in so I don't burn out. Like, I'm not going to work that Friday, or I'm going to go to the beach and I put my phone down and I read a book. So then it gives me that time to re-energize myself. But if you don't know your signs and you just work until you burn out, if you continue to do that, you're not going to have a business because now you're going to resent it. And you don't
Right.
want it to do.
You don't want to come back after that Monday, after the weekend on Monday, and you're just dreading going to work. That's not the way to live,
Yeah.
especially when it's something you've built.
Because if you're an entrepreneur, you already did some work Saturday and Sunday. So we already know that. So you're becoming resentful. And so you just have to watch those. For me, I watch the signs. So I love the beach. I live near the beach. I want to go to the beach. Even sometimes if I just drive to the water and I just look at it, it just kind of calms me and let me know that, I'm grounded. I'm focused on what's important. So you just have to catch it so that you don't continue to burn yourself out. It's easy to want to do everything for everybody, but you have to remember to do something for yourself first.
Right.
And that's hard in the balance.
Right. One thing you're talking about is making time for yourself. And one of the things that you like to go do is go to the beach. I love water, so I'm totally with you on that one. And one of the things that I like to say is that your health is part of your wealth. Your wealth plan is part of your health plan. What is one way that you prioritize your physical well-being in your day-to-day leadership at your center?
Well, I know that my school is crunchy, but we're not crazy.
Okay.
And so I'm a crunchy, not crazy person. Okay. So I want to make sure because you only get one body. And we got to teach the kids this too.
Absolutely.
So they'll say, no chemicals, no Doritos. And they will call people out for eating Doritos. And we just don't allow that in our center. And then for me, that's the same thing I'm doing. I don't eat Cheetos. I'm not eating Doritos. And so I want to put things into my body that heals it. Well, now I am healing from a concussion. And I really have to take it up a notch. So I'm on a specialized diet and I have to make sure that I'm eating what's necessary so that my body can heal so I can work at optimal level.
Right.
I do try to eat very healthy and I try to make sure I'm not working out the way I should right now, but I do go for walks to just get that fresh air and to be outside and getting sunlight.
Right. And helping your body moving on a day-to-day basis. And I love how you've incorporated even your personal values into how you're running your center. If you're crunchy, it's like you're bringing that energy and people are likely to find your center and find that as one of your places of value where they align with you in that way. So it's like teaching them new things, which is amazing.
Right.
So one thing, when I'm working with clients, we don't just talk about spreadsheets. You know this. We talk about your beliefs, about your purpose, your identity, just kind of getting into who you are as a person and being connected with something that's bigger than you on the day-to-day, kind of that fuel your longevity. So how does your faith or your spiritual practices shape how you lead and how you make decisions as a business owner?
We're deep diving, aren't we, today?
I told you.
I believe in a higher power. And so I always say the decisions I make, if I cannot lay my head down at night, then I'm not going to make that decision. So, of course, you guys do the numbers and y'all like, you need to raise tuition so you can make this kind of profit. But what I see is I can raise my tuition X amount of percent, and then these families still have an opportunity to go on vacation and make memories. So yes, profit is great. But for me, the way I was blessed in this world, you have to be able to lay your head down at night. So if it goes against my belief system, I don't do it. That's a non-negotiable for me.
That's wonderful because you won't feel right. Like you said, if you can't sleep at night with the decision that you've made, it makes absolutely no sense to do it. And especially not just for profit, because the profit will come if you're leading correctly, if you're giving people space to be able to vacate, and be able to go out and spend time with their families. Obviously, we all have our bills on the day-to-day basis. And it sounds like you're really considering the parents who are part of your program where you're not just saying,
Right.
hey, I need to lean into as much profit as I can get, and more so into, hey, how can I bless these families too?
Yeah. Because I
Good.
had to do my part in the community. And I feel like if God is going to bless me with the gift that I have, then I have to make sure that I use it appropriately.
Right, right. And do you feel like being involved in owning this childcare center is part of your life's calling at this point? Does it give you, I guess, how does that fuel your sense of purpose and kind of guide you when things get hard?
But I think what a blessing it is that I get to work with people's legacy.
Yes.
The
Hmm.
opportunity to work with legacy, like we always say children, but really that's the legacy. That is what we're leaving in the world because you can't take that Armani suit with you, the Rolex watch, the new car, you don't take that with you. But what you leave behind is your children and your legacy. So I believe that that's my purpose is to make sure that I support families on their journeys for their legacy because I'm in a unique position. I'm in the only part of education where the family matters,
Mm-hmm.
the community matters. So when you're in this part of education in the beginning years, I want to make sure that I'm very intentional by being there for my families, celebrating grandma wins, celebrating mom and dad wins, like celebrating everybody wins because that's what community is about taking care of one another. That's
Right.
the purpose.
Absolutely. I love that. And talking about that legacy, that family lineage, and kind of how you're imparting that wisdom and to the next generation that's coming, it makes such a big difference. And I'm sure over the time that you've been in this business, you've seen people grow. You're going to see their kids, you're going to start to see the grandkids, the aunties and uncles and cousins. And it's like you're making a difference in that family structure, even with the 3-year-old talking about no chemicals. He's making a difference in the legacy of his family long term, even
Right.
from a health perspective. So all of that makes such a huge difference. I love that you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that when cash flow is tight or systems are not working, it's mindset
Mm-hmm.
that gets people through. Are there any beliefs or practices that have helped you to stay grounded during challenging seasons?
Last year, around this time, I was struggling with should I be content with the life that I have professionally? That was kind of stressful for me because I knew something wasn't right.
Mm,
I started reading about the Amish and being content, and maybe I'm not meant to be content, but I knew I was missing some tools. Chris Murray does this mindset coaching and that has been a huge game changer for me.
wow.
Because you have business coaching, but what you don't realize is that with your mindset, there are things that you're doing, or there's a part of you that's actually coming out professionally. If you don't deal with that, you're going to keep on making these professional errors.
Hmm.
So for me, we found out that I have a hard time letting people go. I'm an overgiver
Okay.
because this is such a service. I'm a servant. So this is a service business and I love helping people.
Hmm.
I had to work on creating boundaries and not overgive because I was overgiving to people who wasn't worthy of that.
Wow.
And I didn't realize it until we started doing this mindset work so that now I'm able to reclaim some of that power back in myself that, hey, do they deserve what you're giving?
Hmm.
Are they worthy for you to give like that? And so once I did that shift, it's like my whole life just sped up and it just
Wow.
made so much sense because I was actually working with more clarity because now not only am I getting business coaching, but now my mindset is better. I'm not like completely stressed out because I'm over giving. And I'm
Hmm.
like, why they not appreciating what I'm doing for them? Like,
Right.
da, 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 da.
Right.
Well, okay, well, I gave to them. They didn't ask for it,
Hmm.
or they did, but their intentions weren't good. So now I only do and give for the right reasons, for real love. Like people who like, I lost my job. Okay,
Right.
we'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or when people's like, hey, like death, I mean, people lose people. It's
Right.
okay. We're here for you. What do you need? Let
Right.
us support you. And so that way I had to change my mindset in that, because if not, people will use you. That will burn you out in your business more than anything, because now you are resentful to people, but you have to hold yourself accountable. Like Michael Jackson said, you got to look at the man in the mirror. I have to look at the woman in the mirror. Like, what are we doing wrong?
Ooh.
I strongly suggest to anybody, you really need somebody to help with your mindset. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the right mindset, because this work we do is not for, you can't be weak and do it. Your mind
Right.
has to be strong.
Right. Absolutely. And I can see where giving, and especially when that giving isn't appreciated and it's taking more time and energy from you, how being able to exercise those boundaries and reframe your mindset makes such a big difference, because then you can have more energy, more resources for the people who you find that actually deserve it and that actually need it, versus those who are set out to use you or that aren't appreciative of what you're giving. Oftentimes we talk about business growth, but really don't talk about how that intersects with our personal relationships. So you talked a little bit about your family and your support system. I believe you can have both. You can have that balance. And like you said, not necessarily 50-50, but it might be more of a 60-40 depending on the day. A successful business, I think, is connected in both ways. How do you stay connected to your family, to your loved ones, making sure that you're making enough time for them while also leading a demanding business?
Whew, that's a really good question. I try my best to be present. Like, when my kids are playing sports, like sometimes I might have to answer an email, but when my baby's up to bed, I'm recording,
Right.
or I'm like biting my neck, like I'm nervous. So just trying to be present the best I can with my children, with my husband, with my parents. I mean, I told the story a couple weeks ago about, I had to be a business owner after my brother was murdered by the sheriff department. And so I had to really lean in on my support group and my family, because that's hard trying
Yeah.
to grieve. I mean, people were throwing out words like police brutality, activism. And I was like, hold on a minute. Like, this
Right.
isn't the life like,
Mhm.
but my family and I, my parents, we just made the right decisions and made a decision that was right for us, and
Right.
just supported each other. And so it kind of made us a little bit stronger.
Wow. That's the first. I'm sorry to hear that about your brother. I can't even imagine what that would be like to deal with while running a business, while being a mom, while being a wife, while grieving all at the same time. But it sounds like you guys really leaned on each other during that time to make sure that everybody's feeling supported, that we have what we need, and leaning on the different communities that you have as well to make sure that you're kind of keeping all of the things together as much as you possibly can. And it sounds like that paid off for you, as you went on and as the family and friends and others were able to support you. So that's amazing that you had that support system. Have there been any key supporters in your journey, somebody who helped you to keep kind of reminding you of who you are, kind of reminding you of what you're meant to do and why you're here?
Yeah. I would say I started this journey off by actually, I was at an event with the childcare chick years ago,
Okay.
and she had a panel of people, and Tabina Adams and Jamarion Tabor were there. I
Mm.
really connected with them, with their stories. And so that's how I end up meeting Chris Murray and all the coaches there. Tabina and Jamarion have really poured into me in ways that I could never repay them, never, ever.
Wow.
And the same thing with Chris. I mean, just poured into me at a time where I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she just helped me work on that mindset. That was really great. And I have really good friends that we're in a group called like the Mafia. Like, we're not the real Mafia,
Right.
but we
Right.
just dare to hold each other accountable. And my I have a really good friend, Michael, who's in Ohio, who is phenomenal. Like, hey, Neshanta, no, that's not going to work. You can't do that. Or, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm right there to say, hey, these are my thoughts. He holds me accountable every single day,
Wow.
every day,
That's good.
as a person, as a professional. And so you can't find that, and
Right.
those are the people who really shaped my business for sure.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Right. And I can see it sounded like some of the key supporters that you had are also in the childcare industry. Like you guys have a community of
Yeah.
people who are also part of the industry. I think sometimes people are a little nervous about building or being in community with other owners because they feel maybe competitive, jealous, that kind of thing. How do you think, what are ways that they could break through that feeling of either competition with other owners or, and really be able to get through that and build community?
Well, I live in a small town in Lower Alabama, and I would try to connect with other owners, and it would just be like, and
Hmm.
I remember
Right.
one day somebody said, I wish people with home daycares would just close up their home daycares and be our directors. And I was like, what?
So
What are
interesting.
you doing? Like, I couldn't even believe it. And so I realized like my thought process was different because
Hmm.
I believe there is enough light for all of us to
Yeah.
shine. None of us can be in the shadows. And so I'll tell everybody, for a long time, I felt so lost. And so I was trying to connect with other professionals. And there's nothing wrong with connecting. I'm friends with a lot of other small business owners.
Hmm.
But when you get some childcare friends, like they get it. Like
Right.
you in this industry, they get it. And
Hmm.
so that's when I realized that sense of community, like I wasn't alone anymore. When I found my people, like
Right.
for real,
Hmm.
because the no matter where you are, you can't just say, oh, well, I try to connect with them and they're not connecting with me. Okay, think bigger. Maybe
Hmm.
think bigger. Maybe there's not anybody in your town or even in your state that you can communicate with. That's okay. Just keep looking. Your people are out there. Now, I do have two people that are beautiful people that live locally,
Hmm.
and we meet for lunch or we may meet for cocktails, and we can have conversation. But I also have my big thinker friends that don't make me feel crazy when I say, hey, what if we do such and such? Not saying
Hmm.
my locals don't do that, but we're just all in different spots.
Right.
That means in your community, maybe someone hasn't started their business yet. Maybe they haven't opened their business yet. Maybe
Right.
they haven't stepped outside their box to meet you yet. So
Hmm.
just keep on looking because you will find somebody.
Right.
And then think bigger. If you can't find anybody local, like people always say, well, I don't want to be friends with somebody and they live all the way all across the country. I have a friend, Janani, she lives in California. Michael lives in Ohio. I have friends Deborah that lives in Rhode Island.
Right.
I just realized that if I'm talking to these people consistently, then this helps me be a better owner. It helps me show up better. So
Right.
don't give up. Your
Right.
people are out there.
Absolutely. And that community is so important just because, like you said, being able to bounce ideas off of each other. And if somebody's in Ohio, somebody's in Rhode Island, somebody's in California, Texas, wherever it is, you are able to even take away from what are their markets doing maybe that we're not doing here. Right. And being able to say, hey, this worked here. It might also work there. And like you said, being able to, do I look crazy if I want to do this? Having that sounding board makes all the difference. So good deal. Thank you for sharing that because I know sometimes people can feel like they're competing with each other and build into building community. So now, Ms. Neshanta,
Mhm.
let's talk about the business itself. I know we talked a lot about everything
Okay.
else. The owners I work with often reach a turning point where they realize they really need more than just their passion to run the business. They need processes, things like that. So what was kind of a turning point in your center's growth where you knew that you were leveling up as like from like an owner to a CEO?
You realize you can't work open to close anymore. Like the moment you realize you cannot do anything, do all of it all the time. Like you can't teach the class, you can't be the bookkeeper, the accountant, you can't do all the lesson plans, cook all the food. Like that
Yeah.
moment, you're like, okay, this is not working. I didn't realize what I didn't know because you're so used to struggling and doing it all, into I found a coach. And I would tell anybody, you need a coach. If you want to be a CEO, you cannot do it without some coaching. You have to have that, because you as an owner have to have somebody to hold you accountable, because as owners, we always holding other people accountable, but you got to have somebody hold you accountable. And so once I got coaching, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody had already had the resource that they were willing to share with me to help me scale my business and put SOPs in place and to like have an onboarding process. When it came down to my staff, I was like, you want this job? All right, hit these papers, let's go. Like, you do your background check and your TB test, we're good to go. And then I was like, wait a minute. So then you realize you're just throwing people into the fire. And so now we have processes in place so that all the paperwork can be accounted for. I have an executive assistant and a virtual assistant that keeps everything in place. I'm not trying to figure out, did they turn that paperwork in? Now we have a system in place. If they're checking it off, it's already done by the time they come in.
Right.
And so that's what I think is so important, is that you have to have systems, but you have to have someone that holds you as an owner accountable. If not, you're never going to scale your business.
Right,
you know, as owners, we're just like, all of it sounds good. So you just have to have people to hold you accountable so that you can scale. Because if not, then that's going to mess with your profit.
Yep, that's so true. And I agree with you 100%, because as a leader, you need a leader, right? You need someone to help lead you, like you said, hold you accountable. Just like I think pastors need pastors, right? So if you're the one pastoring, you need somebody who's pastoring you. So that's important to have that. Even, I wouldn't call it a hierarchy, but kind of that, like you said, accountability, somebody who can make sure that you kind of hold your feet to the fire a little bit and make sure that you're accountable to the things that you want to do, the things that you said that you would do, and the things that are going to be best for your business at that time. Neshanta, one of the things that I like to help clients do is to kind of untangle the chaos of their systems and make sure that there's automations and things like that in place, from like payroll to enrollment and stuff like staffing, that kind of thing. What's been one challenging area for you to systemize? And then how did you navigate it, or how are you navigating it?
Hiring has been one of the, it has been like my arch nemesis, because some people look horrible on paper and they're great employees. And some people are like excellent on paper. And you're like, who is this person when they come into your school? And so as I began to grow, I noticed that like my virtual assistant was trying to schedule like people to meet with me. Well, I'm the CEO, so my time is all over the place. And I remember sitting in a coaching session with Steve, and he said, Neshanta, is your director there? I said, yeah. He said, let your director do all of the interviews, and you just show up at the second interview, or you need to train your director on how to do all the processes, and you show up on the leadership side. I was like, that was brilliant.
Absolutely.
So for 30 days, I worked with my director. We put systems in place. I didn't have a system in place on how we pay somebody, but now I put a system in place. So now that we know how to pay individuals, and so now the VA doesn't have to call me and try to figure out how to schedule something in between my 50,000 things I'm trying to do. But she knows what time the director's there, when she's available, and she just schedules it. And so like this just recently happened for me. Honestly, probably about 2 months ago is when I actually like stepped out of that role some. And that was very hard, because you want to be there for the hiring. Sometimes you just have to have consistent questions and then just go with it. It is what it is. So you just have to find somebody that has your values and then go from there.
Yeah. And did that make your hiring process faster now that you weren't kind of the bottleneck in that?
Yes.
Yes.
Because now we can see more people quicker, because the director's there every day.
Right.
I may be, traveling. I may be at a meeting. I may have, conference calls or whatever. So now we don't have that bottleneck anymore. Like that cup is flowing.
Good. Now,
because she's able to do that.
Good deal. That's nice. That's a nice thing to take off of your plate. Now, do you still make the final decision on the hire, or is your director kind of the one that makes the decision on the hire after you guys talk? Kind of how does that part work?
She's making the final decisions on if they're assistant or floaters or lead teacher. She makes the final decision on that.
Nice. Okay. So that really takes a lot off of your plate. What did you replace that time with? Is it more time with family? Were you able to do more marketing? What have you allocated that free time to?
Actually, to really step into being the role of the CEO,
Good.
because I was still hanging out as, am I going to be the whole time director? I'm going to be a CEO. So right now, I'm really stepping into my role as the CEO
Hmm.
of the company. Just
Good.
really trying to provide the vision, because if you don't have a great vision, then it's hard for your team to lead. And
Good.
so now I'm not just putting out fires. I'm actually now able to create a better vision. So that frees me up time to just like look at the direction of the business, look at the trends.
Hmm.
Before, I'm trying to look at trends on the weekends or at night after working all day. Now I
Hmm.
have time for that.
Okay. So when you look at the business now, what would you say that you are most proud of when you look at what you've built? Maybe not just financially, but also culturally.
Okay, I don't even want to cry. You know, made me want to get teary now. I'm so proud of the impact that we have in our small town community. We are a main street school, and I love that because I can see where our impact is affecting, families. I can see when our students go to school, like people are like, oh, that child came from the Hague. Oh yeah, they ready.
Uh,
Some of them like, and we've built relationships with the local schools that, and the fact of the matter is, I'm very proud that I'm in a position to support parents, because not everybody gets to live next to grandma anymore
right.
or next to their moms. And being that person that's saying, hey, it's okay. I know your toddler may be toddling right now, but this is just
Hmm.
a season and we'll get through it. So I'm most proud of that I get to do what I love every single day.
Right. Absolutely. I love it. And I can imagine that there's a sense of pride when the next level schools, elementary, are like, yeah, we know you must have came you must have came from head because you got it together. This child's ahead of the curve. That
Yeah.
means something major that you're really imparting
Mm.
into the next generation in that community that you're in. I love that. Now, what's next for you and your center? Are there any growth goals, expansions, innovations that you're kind of dreaming about?
I think we always dreamed about innovations. We always dreamed about ways that we can streamline things. And for me, I'm always thinking about ways that I can streamline the process for my parents so that they can experience it just as we're experiencing it. So right now, I really want to find the right platform where the teacher can capture their days better.
Hmm.
I really want that. What we're using, I'm not saying is horrible, but it's time consuming. And I just
Okay.
know that and people on their phones every 5 minutes. And if you can
Yeah.
show a picture that little Bobby is being sweet today, and you can like click on it, like how wonderful that is when you're at work and you just need a little pick me up.
Hmm.
So that I'm looking at like expanding our school some and just continue to grow in this field of early childhood education. I just want us to continue to allow kids to be kids. Like that is my big thing.
Right. I love that. So, last question. If a brand new center owner came to you today, someone who wants to build a meaningful business without having to go through so much of the burnout, what would you tell them?
Well, the first question I would ask is, do you love what you're going to do? And like, are you opening this up to add to your portfolio? Are you wanting to be an on-site owner, off-site owner? What does this dream look like for you? Because
Hmm.
a lot of times people are like, oh, I love kids. I want to work in childcare. I'm like, ooh, like, loving kids and working with them is two different things. Sometimes you have to love them enough to provide them a little tough love, like, hey, you're not going to hit your friends. I'm sorry, you don't have to sit down. The best advice I could give them is like, if you love it, you can do it because the days are long, it's hard, but it's the most rewarding job, the most rewarding field that you will ever experience. I mean, when you're doing it right, those teachers, those families, those kids make you feel like Beyonce or Taylor Swift when you walk in. Because it's a great feeling. It's almost like a high almost, because you have made your performance flawless. You have done great. So if you want, you have to decide, like people are like, oh, we need this in our community. I'm like, yes, but are you willing to give up your nights, your weekends? Are you willing to be late to go to your kid's baseball game?
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to give up in the beginning to have greatness towards the end? If you want to start it, come on. There's enough room for all of us. But just know that you have to have purpose and you have to love it unconditionally. It's like having another kid.
Right. A really big one. It takes a lot.
Big one.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So if you want to do that, if you love it, then it'll be great. But if you're just like, oh, well, it's an opportunity for us to make money. Yeah. Get a trash truck, because I'm telling you that you probably make just as much money without as much stress.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people sometimes think that like, oh, they see, okay, you have 80 kids, they each are about $1,000 a piece. They're kind of doing that. And they're like, wait a minute, that's $80,000 a month. They're making so much money, but not realizing there's payroll, there's rent, there's insurance that keeps going up and all of those different things.
Insurance is brutal for all of us.
Yes, you can make money. You can make good money. You can be profitable, but it has to be more than that. It has to be going from profit motivated and making sure that that passion and that purpose is in there and that those things can coexist. So, Neshanta, thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate your time. I had fun talking to you. Thank you for being so open and authentic and sharing your beliefs, sharing how you manage boundaries and all of those sort of things. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a fun experience. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.